Today we're exploring Furness Abbey.
Welcome to Vagabond Chronicles. I'm Rebecca. Now I like the quirky, the untraveled, the unbeaten path. Now this abbey is incredible. It was built in the 11th and 12th centuries. Now this is the place of so many amazing things. A poison chalice, a ghost that still haunts this place today, and wealth so great that it may have funded Scotland in the 13th and 14th centuries. Now if Samara from The Ring wanted a dream holiday, this would probably be it. So now I need to go show you and explore the amazing and the exciting adventures of what Furness Abbey. Guys, is something following me? Is it? Okay, this is a little bit creepy. We need to go explore this together. What Furness Abbey has to offer. And you better believe if the phone rings, I'm not answering it.
Furness Abbey was founded way back in 1112 by a group of Cistercian monks. Over the centuries, this place grew into one of the richest monasteries in all of England, until Henry VIII came along and smashed it to pieces with this whole dissolve the monasteries and become God thing.
Now, it's not that I don't like him. It's just the man who created his own rules. He wanted to sleep with whoever he wanted to sleep with. He wanted to kill whoever he wanted to kill without repercussion. Basically, just wanted to be God.
Today, I'm wondering what's left. We'll walk over the grounds, dig into a bit of the monastic history, and yeah, I brought my tarot deck. Because if you can't do a slightly cheesy reading in a haunted ruin, when can you? So let's start in the dormitories, the monks' sleeping quarters.
Now above us, there would have been a roof, and on top of that, this is where the monks would have slept.
We're going up some stairs. Woo!
So up here, we've climbed up to the very top of the dormitories. Now up here, every monk would basically have their own bedroom, right? Well, they did that so people could make sure that they were in super peace and solace, and they could, find whatever meditation they needed to find. At its peak, there was only about 100 to 200 monks here. We really don't know. But what we do know is that for the number of monks that were here, there was twice the number of servants and slaves. And yes, even they had their own living quarters. Now, I don't know if the servants and slaves would have walked down these stairs into the abbey, with lighted candles, deep in the darkness. Right now we have a beautiful day. It's warm. I don't need my jacket right now. But back then, rain or cold or darkness or whatever, they'd have a little candle. They'd walk down here. I'm gonna voice that over.
Down these steps stood the masterpiece of Furness Abbey, the Grand Cathedral, once the spiritual and architectural heart of it all.
See, the monks had a very rigorous schedule. They prayed 8 times a day, starting at 2 a.m. So they'd wake up at 2 a.m. and they'd come down into this beautiful, beautiful cathedral. And they'd pray for about an hour, and then some people would go back to bed. Others would stay up and meditate for the second prayers of the day to start at 5 a.m. And then about every couple hours after that, they'd intertwine eating and praying and attending to other people in this monastery. Yes, other people, and I'm gonna get to that in a second.
Even in ruins, you can still feel how massive and detailed this place was. Every stone feels like it's holding a memory.
Guys, this is incredible. And then over here and this sort of stuff, there would have probably been some sort of incense burning. Up here, this is where the biggest altar would be, where the priests would sit. And look at this. We have a little basin of holy water. Now in 2010, whenever they were setting up this massive structure, they found the resting place of an old abbot. Now an abbot is basically the head monk in one of these abbeys. And they know he was the abbot because we found this really cool staff with him. And next, on his finger, we also found this cool ring. Now, the thing I find cool about this ring is that it has like a little triangle thing imprinted on the back. It's really hard for you to see it, I know, but it basically pierced his skin and inflicted pain whenever he was wearing it. Now, it would have inflicted him way more pain because he was diabetic. He had a very rich diet, high in fish, but then also high in sugar and that sort of stuff. Look at this. This would have been like 4 more floors high. Just chilling out here. Monks praying, monks singing. This over here also would have been another back door to the stairs, so you could like climb upstairs and get to the dormitories the other way. You can kind of see like where they've been a little bit built over so people don't go in and hurt themselves.
So now we're standing underneath what used to be the monks' dormitories. The flow's a bit wonky in the video, but hey, welcome to my channel. Now there's some pretty cool lore here I've got to tell you.
And then under here, there would have just been a passageway where they can meditate. Ooh, maybe some secrets were in here. Now, can you imagine just being a monk, you know, sleeping upstairs, whoop, walk downstairs, go do a prayer, go grab breakfast, then come down here. This was like their little day room down here. And then you would just get a book. One thing that we know about this monastery is that they actually had a lot of books. Only 2 of them survived. You would just get an illuminated manuscript because, dude, if I'm being a monk, I'm having an illuminated manuscript. And then I'm walking over here. This is my illuminated manuscript. And then I'm walking into this, and this would be my illuminated manuscript study room. Illuminated manuscript study room. And then outside, guys, look at this. We would have water that we could wash our hands in. It's so cold and fresh. I love this. This has got to be one of the best underrated places I've seen. Like, I don't see advertisements about this place a lot. And I think that's one of the things that makes it incredible. It's off the beaten path today. It's a little bit hard to get to, especially if you don't drive. But see, back in the day, this was super accessible. We're right by the sea. And so they built it here because it was so accessible. They didn't have cars back in medieval times, but they had ships. And so they floated in. So what is today a pretty inaccessible route to get here, definitely off the beaten path. It's way out of tourist area. It was hugely popular. People from all around would come here and make a pilgrimage, read a book in the stream. Modern day streaming. Yes, the monks of Furness Abbey invented modern day streaming. Now, during these times, illuminated manuscripts were huge. And this is kind of where tarot got its inspiration. Did you know that tarot has a connection with ancient medieval church? Now, while tarot was not actually developed in the church, it wasn't ever used as part of like church lore, a lot of the cards on here have Christian lore with it. See, tarot was a card game that the rich people played, and a lot of the rich people were connected with the church. So, cards like the Tower. And of course, the Tower refers to ego, losing the ego, being careful of how high you climb, because you'll probably fall that same length. The Hermit, it's a card of reflection, of understanding of who you are and what you are, thinking more about the situation. Death is a card of rebirth, of new beginnings, because there is no end. You see on this death card, like, we have a lot of religious iconography. We have a pope, we have religious people. I mean, just look at this beautiful cathedral. Now let's go finish exploring this beautiful place. Now, one thing that made this abbey such a really cool place and last for so long was that it was basically self-sufficient. A really rich landowner owned a whole bunch of this area, including this place, and they helped to build the abbey, obviously. But it was self-sufficient. On the hills, they grew corn and crops. Throughout the middle, we have fresh water running. So the people living here didn't ever actually have to leave and go hunt for fresh water or for anything. They could just stay here and they could celebrate, you know, their silence vows or whatever vows that they had. Now we've just entered this beautiful abbey, right? I mean, I guess the whole thing's an abbey. Okay, so we've just entered this beautiful place, and it's incredible. I'm trying to figure out, how do we get into that big church? And then I just keep finding stuff like this, you guys. There's a quarry mine very nearby here. This probably, guys, this over here, this would have been like, you know, with those altars and worship stuff in big churches? That's what this would have been. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, we're gonna have to touch some of this stuff here. Wow! Oh, this one's incredible. Guys, we found the entrance. Look at that. Do you see that? Now check out this pillar. Guys, medieval architecture is so amazing. It feels just like, I don't know, feels like a very porous rock. We're now entering the infirmary. Now the infirmary is one of the last buildings that still has a cover. And that is one thing I find incredible about this. Now this place is where both the sick and older men and women would come here and be taken care of. They would spend their last days here. I don't know about you, but when I'm sick, I love someone taking care of me, and I like to be in a very quiet place. Now this floor, it's not the original floor, obviously, but these stairs are the original stairs. See? You would climb up those to go to your bedroom. And of course, this place, like other places in the Abbey, everybody had their own room. That was just kind of what you did here. Over here, we have like a octagonal shaped religious site, which is unique since I thought that was Byzantine. But you know, maybe the Byzantines stole it from someone. We're trying to figure out how to get inside this. And while we do that, I need to finish telling you the story of how many times this place was pillaged. So for whatever reason, shortly after it was built, Scotland came down and pillaged it. It was really rich. The landowners around here were really rich. They owned farmland and sheep and cows and who knows whatever else they owned. How do we get in there? So Scotland came down and stole the riches. Now this was the time when Scotland and England were having a bit of a civil war and battle between themselves. Scotland wanted independence. England wanted everything, as they kind of do. So they did their thing and they squabbled around for a bit. And then the Scots came down again. And this time they stayed at the Abbey for 4 days. And if you know anything about a good Scottish party, after 4 days of hardcore partying, it's going to take a while to clean up. And that's exactly what happened. The monks out of this beautiful place had to be relocated to different places so they could just rebuild up the Abbey and refill everything back in with food, with wine, with everything else that you need to run an Abbey. Well, around the same time, it was time for Robert the Bruce, Rob the Rockstar, to come in. And the Abbey knew that they were up for a bit of a problem. So, instead of Rob the Rockstar coming and probably winning over the Abbey, they paid him off. They're just like, we will pay you, just leave us alone. We just want to stay in here and meditate and worship in private. Please leave us alone, Rob the Rockstar. So now we're at the entrance of the infirmary. And maybe over here there would have been like a little, oh, hey, look, a little ladybug. You see him? Little ladybug. Another little place for a god, maybe a Mary. You can see up here we have a second floor, which is where a lot of the people would have stayed. And then inside, this would have been the chapel that you would enter if you were sick. So just like in COVID, they quarantined people back then. We have little chairs over here. And up here, you can see places where they would have put some fire. So you could see, and you can even still see the burn marks. Do you see that? That's so cool. guys, we have old burn marks. So I've wondered for many, many years how they make medieval ceilings out of brick, because I knew they were out of brick. And I still don't know. But now we've seen one. Now, I mentioned a poisoned chalice. So back in the day, there was this monk who liked the ladies. Now, at the time, it wasn't allowed to both fornicate and then dedicate your life to abstinence and God and meditation. He didn't care. At night, he would sneak out of the abbey at night. This is how you would have snuck through the abbey to go out, and in this monk's case, to sleep with the pretty ladies. Well, woo, there's a spider web. I didn't think about that. We need a spider web remover. This monk finally was found out. Hold on, I need my camera to go away of spiders. So I'll see you in a bit. Guys, I don't know if that was a good idea, but my legs really hurt now. So that is the the pain that the monk who wanted to sleep with the pretty ladies would go through. He would waddle through one of these tunnels that connected the abbey together, and then he'd sneak out of the abbey. He'd go sleep with women, and then whenever he got back, he would get back in time for morning prayers. Well, one day, the abbot found him sneaking back in, and he reprimanded him. He grounded him. He said, "No, you will now serve what's that? ADHD travel vlog. Damn it. This makes editing hard. Now you will serve a vow of silence." Well, Chad Lad Monk didn't like that so much. So he said, "No, I will not." And he continued to sleep with the pretty ladies. Well, the abbot continued to try to instill in him the rigor and everything else that you need to instill in order to become a monk and serve in this beautiful abbey. Well, Chad Lad would not have it. So instead of obeying the rules, he decided to poison the monk, which I guess is one way to end your problems if you don't like what your boss says. So, monk died. Now, it's said that Chad Lad still haunts this area to this day because he committed 2 carnal sins. Fornicating and sleeping with other people when he shouldn't have been, and then also murder. But who knows? What we do know, though, is that this is the abbot's house. This is where the monk of all monks would have been, at this cornerstone. He would have overlooked the abbey. He would have been able to see clearly Chad Lad sneaking out of his dorm, all the way through that tunnel that we just went under, and then out across that little basin, over the hill, and into the nearest town. What a legend. What a legend. Do you think the monk would have had a chair here? Maybe Abbot. What is this? Guys, I like this. Do you see it? It's in the shape of the Holy Trinity. What is that? That's so cool. Can you see it? This is so cool. If Henry VIII hadn't been such a dick and just left these people to be chill in their own way. I mean, just look at this engineering that's left here, you guys. Like this rock? Look at that. Over here, there must have been some sort of little statues. Right now we have a spider web. Little statues and stuff that you could pray. Oh, woo, little slide. Now maybe that's a window. Maybe out here there would have been some sort of a path that the monks could walk around. Now, grounds like this to house, 300 people, maybe 400, it would have been incredibly quiet. How is this real? Do you believe in magic? So guys, I think we're going to end our journey of Furness Abbey here today. I'm going to go walk around and just enjoy the peace and silence, not have to talk to my camera for a bit. Thank you so much for coming along with me today. Maybe those tarot cards that we came with in the beginning, it's not reflective of anything. Maybe the hermit tells me that I came here to reflect. Judgment says that it's time to reckon with the past and the tower. Maybe that's the price of transformation, of losing the ego. Maybe this abbey isn't haunted by ghosts, but it's haunted by change and offers everyone a place to reflect and just to imagine and explore without prejudice. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Ciao.